Rev up your engines!
Well, here's a great one. It wouldn't affect you unless you're a used car dealer, and it's kind of maddening that it doesn't affect normal people. The used vehicle wholesale prices have given up 55% of the pandemic spike. So the guys that are buying cars wholesale, the car dealers, are paying much less. But they're not passing it down yet to you and me. The big boys are buying them wholesale. Listen to this. Retail prices have only dropped 11%. They're paying 55% less, but they're keeping most of that. And they're only making their price they want to sell it to you 11% less. Used car lots are one thing. They're money makers. They want to buy them as cheap as they can and sell them as high as they can, right? They're not passing the savings. They're just thinking, oh, glory days, we'll keep charging people more money. So you know what I say? Don't buy up from them. You're not going to go to an auction yourself. It's a real hassle, right? But go through private individuals. You're going to get a better deal because people aren't paying the money that they used to pay. Even though the lots are still asking too much. It's not like when coronavirus was around that the lots only had a certain amount of cars. So, hey, well, take it or leave it. Another guy's going to buy the car. Now, they're loaded with cars, baby. And that may be what they're asking, but that isn't what they're going to sell for to smart people. So go to individuals and say, you're asking too much, here's what I'll give you. And if they want to sell their car, they're going to have to sell it for less because they're not flying off like they used to, right? And of course, somebody selling a car privately is in a different position than a car dealer. Car dealer is going to charge you by the month. You buy a car from a private individual, right? They are not going to let you pay by the month. You got to give them all the money. Right there, you're going to pay less for it. That's just how it works in the real world. And thank goodness it's coming back down to reality. Maybe not at the car lots yet, but buying them from private individuals, it's starting to really come down. Well, if you think your car insurance is getting more expensive, you're not alone, baby. Car insurance rates across the United States in 2024 have jumped 26% on average. That's quite a bit, right? You know, they say all these lying economists, well, inflation is 6%, blah, blah, blah. Hey, they raised insurance rates 26%. All this lies about, well, you know, oh, inflation isn't that bad. It's all lies. It's based on ridiculous data, not real data. They don't base it on what you pay for your insurance, what you're paying for houses, what you're paying on your gas bill, your electric bill. If you have oil-heated houses up north, your oil, kerosene that's used to heat your house, right? They never seem to add this into the cost of living and inflation because inflation is a heck of a lot higher. Of course, the economists have an agenda, right? If a political party is in, they're economists, right? They want to make it look better than it is. They want to make people look like, geez, insurance is 26% higher. That's a lot of inflation, right? So they don't include any of those figures in the data that you get. So it looks like it's not as bad as them. But of course, we real people who actually go to the grocery store and find out what bags of groceries cost these days realize that's a load of horse manure if they're saying there's 4, 5, 6% inflation. Yeah, groceries a lot higher than that too. But now, the average price of insurance in the United States is $2,543 annually, $212 a month. Now I'm old, I'm a conservative driver, right? I got 2 cars, I pay $600 a year because I never get in wrecks. I drive old cars. Right? They aren't worth all that much money. I don't smash into people. They just keep raising this stuff. And let me tell you something. If electrification of cars actually starts to become a more common thing, it'll be even higher. Because those cars, when they get in wrecks, they cost a fortune to fix. They're heavier. They're involved in more wrecks. Tesla was the numero uno car involved in wrecks in the United States percentage per 1,000 drivers. They're the highest rate. So that's going to make it go up if people go more in electric cars, too. So that would make it even worse. Well, if you think our society's gone nuts and gotten woke, the Canadians are even worse. Listen to this. A borough outside of Montreal is now making a law that you're going to get a fine if you sit idling your car for more than 10 seconds, okay? 10 seconds. Well, it turns out they already had a law that you couldn't idle your car for like 10 minutes. But they said, that's too hard to enforce because the police would have to sit there for 11 minutes and watch the cars. Well, it's easy for the cops to sit there for 10 seconds. Turn it off, 10 seconds. So immediately I thought, hey, wait a second. This is Montreal. It gets cold there in the winter, right? Well, they have an addendum to the law that you can't idle longer than 10 seconds if it's between 0 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius. Well, 0 degrees Celsius to us, normal people in the United States, is 32 degrees, right? So if it's below 32, you're going to be freezing. You got to turn your heat on. Even if it's 32, it's cold, right? You want to have your heat on so you don't freeze. But I guess they're more hardy in Montreal. They can handle 32 without having any heat, right? And then above 30, it's super hot. They'd have to run their air conditioner. If you got somebody waiting in a car and there's a baby in a seat and animals, they might die of heat exhaustion inside the car with a greenhouse effect. So they have those addendums to the law. But I think the Canadians have started to lose their minds. They're making laws like this. They become woke to the point of insanity. So if you do go to this borough of Montreal, make sure you don't sit there for more than 10 seconds or the police might come and clamp you. Well, GM's just recalled 275,000 vehicles in Canada over lighting issues that the lights may not come on while you're driving down the road. If you remember last year, old CEO of GM, Mary Barra, said, we're going to be a software company. We're going to make billions of dollars selling software to people. Well, one that's kind of fallen apart with their self-driving taxis and stuff, right? That's gone by the wayside. And now they can't even make the software correct on 275,000 of their vehicles in Canada so that the headlights work correctly. I mean, we've got some real bozos here. Buick, Cadillac, GM, and GMC vehicles may have a condition where the lower headlamps don't illuminate as it becomes dark outside. Well, isn't that kind of the point of headlights? They're illuminating when it's dark outside. Imagine, well, I got headlights here, they only work when it's bright outside. When it gets dark, the things turn themselves off. GM claims it's a software problem in the body control module, and they say, well, they'll reprogram them if necessary. Maybe it was a disgruntled software engineer at GM they fired, I don't know. But having headlight systems that don't work when it gets dark outside. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Only a company like GM could make such a massive screw up, right? You can't make this stuff up. It's just insanity. Here we go again. General Motors recalls 323,000 heavy-duty pickups because the tailgates have problems. They might open. Well, if you watch all those ads, in the United States, the big pickup trucks are presently having a tailgate war. Whose tailgate can do the most? Ram, Ford, or Chevy? Which ones can dance around, open sideways, shine your shoes, touch them with your toe when they open up, right? They got so much crap in them. GM's recalled 323,000 of them because the tailgates might just decide, whoop, we're going to open up right now. What happened to the old days when there was a tailgate? You slammed it and it went click and it was locked. And if it had a key, you could lock it so people can't open it and steal it, right? And then when you unlock it and grab the handle in the middle, it came down. It was a tailgate, right? Kind of says what it is, tailgate. But they put so much crap in these things that now they can just fly open by themselves, Let's make toasters that make toast and don't talk to you and sing to you and do various things, right? In their case, they can't even make a tailgate that stays up anymore. And they're in this massive tailgate wars. Watch the ads on TV. Our tailgate does this. Our tailgate whistles Dixie. Our tailgate pledges allegiance to the flag. They make them do all these crazy things, and now they won't even do the one thing they're supposed to. Stay shut to keep stuff inside. You can't make this stuff up. It's just insane. The bozos that are building these things. Chris, 1987, said, what's the best way to fix broken paint on a plastic bumper? I have some broken paint on my 2017 Toyota CHR. It fell off in the automatic car wash. How can I fix it? Toyota doesn't give any warranty on that. Okay, here's the thing. Plastic bumpers are painted with a different type of paint than metal on the car. It's got special plasticizers, bonders and stuff on it that you put on it. The problem is, if you have some broken paint, if it's a really big area, you're going to have to sand it down to the bare rubber, prime it, and paint it. That's pretty hard to do unless you're a pro. Now, if you got a few cracks here and there, there's some great companies online where you can get matches almost perfectly. So what you would want to do is sand it all off, get the special primer. They call them rubber bumpers, but they're really plastic. That's made to prime the plastic primer, prime it. And then you can paint over that primer with the touch-up paint. You could try that. But if it's really big and cracked, you're better off either leaving it or getting the whole thing repainted. Bumpers are pretty easy. I can get a bumper off in about 10 minutes. They're just little bolts and clips, and you could take it to any place and say, could you paint this for me? What would you charge me? And you'd see what they charge you. They charge a lot for labor and stuff. If you just bring them the bumper, they can paint the bumper. I've had bumpers painted for 60, 80 bucks. When I hand them the bumper, they're not going to do it on the car. If they have to take it off and do all that stuff, it's going to be expensive. If it's really cracked up and you want it to look good, you really got to paint the whole thing. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.